the serpent was wiser unto evil than all the beasts of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, It is truth that the Lord God hath said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden. So he's questioning him. Is it truth that the Lord God hath said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden? So he, the serpent here, is expressing his rebellion and is casting down from heaven. Is it truth that the Lord God hath said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, From the rest of the fruits of the trees of the garden we have power to eat. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden the Lord hath said, You shall not eat of it, nor approach it, lest you die. In that hour the serpent spake accusation against his Creator, and said to the woman, Dying you will not die, for every artificer hateth the son of his art. For it is manifest before the Lord that in the day ye eat of it, you will be as the great angels, who are wise to know between good and evil. This is Jonathan Targum. And the woman beheld Samael, the angel of death, and was afraid. Yet she knew that the tree was good to eat, and that it was medicine for the enlightenment of thine eyes, the desirable tree by means of which to understand. And she took of its fruit and did eat. And she gave to her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of both were enlightened, and they knew that they were naked, divested of the purple robe in which they had been created. And they saw the sight of their shame, and sewed fig leaves to themselves, and sewed to themselves the leaves of figs in them, and made them cinctures. And they heard the voice of the word of the Lord God walking in the garden in the repose of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from before the Lord among the trees of the garden. And the Lord God called to Adam and said to him, Is not the world which I have made manifest before me, the darkness as the light? And how hast thou thought in thine heart to hide from before me? The place where thou art concealed, do I not see? Where are the commandments that I commanded thee? And he said, The voice of thy word heard I in the garden, and I was afraid because I am naked. And the commandment which thou did teach me I have transgressed. Therefore I hid myself for shame. So this is basically just the damnation of the serpent and or Satan or the great dragon as is explained in Revelations. Because this here is explaining that God knows the darkness and the light. Nobody can hide from him. He gave them the commandments so that the Satan's deed in heaven when he fell to earth would manifest itself on the earth and he would be cursed. This is why this is happening here. So basically, I am right when I say that God made Adam and Eve to ensnare the devil and name him as the son of perdition. We continue on. Where are the commandments that I commanded thee? And he said, the voice of thy word heard I in the garden, and I was afraid because I am naked. And the commandment which thou did teach me I have transgressed. Therefore I hid myself for shame. See, now we're going to understand that it's not us who die, for we are the breath of God. That is, we were made from the dust. We weren't fully formed. The dust is clothed with the serpent here, which we're going to get into. But we are the breath of God, and our flesh is it's different than what we see with the eyes that have been opened. It's actually different. The stuff that perishes, it doesn't last. What we truly are, what we truly walk in, is the way that we have to go. And the reason why we're constantly at a conflict is because, honestly, the skin that we have on the body from what we're about to read here is it's damned. It's already damned, and it wars against what is absolutely always supposed to be done. And this is just this explains all of that. What we just read explains all of whom the serpent is being damned. Unless thou hast eaten of the fruit of the tree of which I commanded that thou should not eat. And Adam said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the fruit, and I did eat. And the Lord God said to the woman, what hast thou done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me with his subtlety, and deceived me with his wickedness, and I ate. Because God is all. See, what we got to understand here is God is all things. This is the beginning of the creation of the new creation that we are in Jesus Christ, which is explained in the New Testament. This is how we manifest. We also have the fleshly bodies of the resurrected Jesus Christ. That is our actual body, the body that is passing away, which we are getting ready to get into here, is of the serpent, because that's the only thing that makes sense according to the scriptures. Deceived me with his wickedness, and I ate. And the Lord God brought the three unto judgment, and he said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, cursed art thou of all the cattle, and of all the beasts of the field. Upon thy belly thou shalt go, and thy feet shall be cut off, and thy skin shalt cast away once in 7 years, and the poison of death shall be in thy mouth. Wow. It makes so much sense as to who we are and how wretched we can be when all the creation is explaining to us that we're only going to be able to do what we need to do, yet we sometimes insist on trying to go against that. Therefore, we, become enveloped in depression and, mental disabilities, etc. Which, we're continuing on. And the poison of death shall be in thy mouth, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. See, dust, we're going to have to get into that a little bit here in a second. And dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. because that's what he's speaking. See, he's saying, and poison of death shall be in thy mouth, right? The poison of death shall be in thy mouth, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between the seed of thy son and the seed of her sons. See, they're different. And it shall be, when the sons of the woman keep the commandments of the law, they will be prepared to smite thee upon thy head. But when they forsake the commandments of the law, thou wilt be ready to wound them in their heel. And their heel, when they forsake the commandments of what the commandments of God are the things that absolutely need to be done, because they're the commandments which set forth, life and the giving of it. So when they are forsaken, he's going to wound their heel, and they're going to become depressed, have mental disabilities, going back to him having the poison in his mouth, and he is to eat the dust. So we're getting into the part where the Lord God clothes them with his skin, the serpent's skin. Nevertheless, for them there shall be a medicine, but for thee there will be no medicine, and they shall make a remedy for the heel in the days of the King Messiah, which is Jesus Christ. Unto the woman he said, multiplying I will multiply thy affliction by the blood of thy virginity, and by thy conception in sorrow thou shalt bear children, and to thy husband shall be thy desire, and he will have rule over thee unto righteousness or unto sin. But to Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened to the word of thy wife, and hast eaten of the fruit of the tree, of which I command thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Accursed is the ground, in that it did not show thee thy guilt. In labor shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. And thorns and thistles will it put forth and increase on account of thee. And thou shalt eat the herb which is on the face of the field. And Adam answered, I pray, through mercies from before thee, O Lord, that we may not be accounted as cattle to eat the herb of the face of the field. Let us stand up and labor with the labor of our hands, and eat food of the food of the earth. And thus let there be distinction before thee between the children of men and the offspring of cattle. By the labor of thy hands thou shalt eat food until thou turn again to the dust from which thou wast created. See, this is the important part. We identified that he's going to go on Satan's going to go about on his belly, eating the dust, and in his mouth is the poison of death. So this is all the judgment, and God saving himself with Christ as we are new creation in him. By the labor of thy hands thou shalt eat food, until thou turn again to the dust from which thou wast created. For dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. From the dust it is to be that thou art to arise, to render judgment. It is from the dust that it is to be that thou art to arise, to render judgment and reckoning for all that thou hast done in the day of the great judgment. Because Jesus Christ wasn't born of, he was born of a virgin. His father literally was God. And he went to pay for this sin that these people created here. being completely free from sin and dying and releasing us from dust is basically what it is. The dust that is to be eaten by Satan um, for eternity is is what that says actually. Um, so basically, we have salvation through God's judgment, and we are basically just a part of the judgment, the fulfillment of judgment on the rebelling angels in heaven. That's basically what we are. We were created to be. And through this, God made a new creature um, to be aware, the new creature, us being aware what it means to disobey the commandments of God, living in the New Jerusalem, being aware of what is good and bad for eternity, and always doing that which is absolutely correct because of the terrible things that we have gone through, and we will always be there to remind, all of creation what happened last time, so it won't ever happen again. It'll always be present. It's eternity. It's eternal. We will be eternal in that understanding. But we will know what is right and wrong still. So this is the absolute fulfillment in what actual free will is. But we would never be foolish enough. It wouldn't be possible because of all the tormenting things that come along with disobeying the commandment of God. Because we walked through it in a life, understanding that Satan's judgment, and we beheld it all as he was tormented for eternity. Because like for instance, I'm explaining to you like the commandments of God is that which we must do. But the pride and all the arrogance and the ambitions that we seek after, they just put roadblocks in our way for us to stumble in front of, and get, upset, sad, angry, cause war to manifest, and ultimately death and sickness and decay and corruption. And we're going to know all of that for eternity. So there will never be a great rebellion ever again. So this was all God's plan from the very beginning. And to know that Satan was created perfect in his ways is also, it's a very beautiful thing according to what God is in his commandment that had actually went forth for us to all understand what paradise actually is, and to be living and aware and, completely enlightened to all things. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. It already is. I'm explaining it to you because I'm able to. So it is already. Okay, so we're going to continue on. Judgment and reckoning for all that thou hast done in the day of great judgment. And Adam called the name of his wife Hava, because she is the mother of all of men. And the Lord God made Adam and to his wife vestures of honor. See, this is what I just got done explaining. From the skin of the serpent, which he had cast from him upon the skin of their actual flesh. See, if we go back a little bit, when they were created by the Lord God, they were dust, and the breath of God was breathed into them, and they became flesh. So we have the skin of the serpent upon this flesh. And that's what Jesus looked like when he rose from the dead and showed himself to the disciples before he had ascended. That's why he wasn't allowing the disciple to touch him before he had ascended to the Father. Okay, that's what this is. Otherwise, he would have been corrupted. But it doesn't work like that because the commandment is already gone forth for him to do what needed to be done. For all creation to do what needed to be done. And that's why there's a vesture of honor from the skin of the serpent as well, which they cast from him upon the skin of their flesh, instead of the adornment which had been cast away, and he clothed them. So that's basically what I wanted to touch on there. I was going to go back and read parts where he was created. Adam and Eve were created of the dust. Well, Adam was taken out of. But again, I just wanted to emphasize the part where they didn't become living until God breathed into them and created them as flesh, because they are dust. But what I'm getting at here is basically Satan. We are Satan's eternal judgment. He is the son of perdition, and humanity was created to assure through the serpent as well that he had decided to create a new creature, Adam and Eve. And in this creation, it had all happened at once as well, because of Jesus Christ being who he is, which was, and which is to come. It all happened like that. This is just explaining to who we are, the eyes that we see with that have now been opened so that we can understand these things. It's how much love is present in life. And it's an absolutely beautiful thing that we are created to know that the difference between good and evil so deeply, from straying away from God's commandment to do what needs to be done. It's the only thing that's going to bring peace and happiness and joy and satisfaction for eternity. And to stray from that is to come back here and witness the serpent's damnation and the curse that is upon him, and all that he basically slept with or had adulterate with him. That's what happened. And that's how that goes. But yeah, I'm going to end this here because it's getting long.